Morning, everybody. Just to begin, a couple of things that have been an issue for me this week. Tomorrow, I don't do much speaking, but I'm doing 2 days on the run. Tomorrow, I'm speaking to the Tameside heads on whether they should become an academy or not. So that talk went in the bin as well last night. So that will be completely different. Yesterday as well, we had, early on in the morning, a school email to ask could they join our MAT. Cold call, school, in another local authority. We've looked at the landscape that morning and we would like to join your multi-academy trust because we think it's great. The answer will be no, because that's not how the system works and develops, but actually it's going to start happening. There's going to be a lot of talking behind the scenes. I just mentioned to somebody, cloak and dagger conversations, power trips. I think the primary sector is going to be very interesting in that should they go with Big Brother secondary, should they go together as primary heads, who's going to be the leader, forgetting actually what we're trying to do, which is about the children. And everything that we do is about the children. And yesterday, the day before, we had an executive meeting, and it was actually about the title that was on the board about looking at succession planning. And we spent 5 hours doing the what ifs. What if that school comes on board? How will we develop capacity to move it on? Being based in Ashton-on-Mersey is great for me because I walk into the skit, I walk into other groups of people, and I'm thinking, they're great. Not with a view to picking them up, but realising that in the system there's lots of fabulous people that we are training. We here are training. Getting ready for something that's happened a bit too soon, in my view. Everything's political, but we just have to get on with it. It is a celebration. Myself and Vicky Beer, who's now our Regional Schools Commissioner, what a job she's got now. She thought, I'd be all right, it'd just be I've got to hit my targets of 500 schools. That's become 5,000 schools. And the back office they have is no bigger than some of our own back office functions. So that's a bit tricky. However, it's not long since myself and Vicky sat with best practice pitching to the college for this particular project. And I can't believe how far it's travelled. I get reports back actually on a daily basis because I'm often in the building. And the strategic board's been set up a year ago. Neil's been chairing that. It has been successful. You're welcome. And I think the partnerships have gone from strength to strength in terms of how the people have been operating on the ground. And in particular, I would say a big thanks to the facilitators, because actually they're the people who make it happen. Having high quality trainers, facilitators, people come away, and I always say when they come back out of the entrance, how was it? What have you been doing? Because we have so many different people coming in. If you've got a teaching school, you'll know there could be, you mistake an NQT for a senior leader because you just don't know sometimes. And say, yes, I've been on the MPQH programme, I've been on this programme, and it's always positive. And it's not positive because it's Ashton-on-Mersey, or the Dean Trust, it's positive because the facilitators make it that way. I also get in trouble for walking straight into the facilitation rooms. I do apologise if I've walked into yours thinking it's something else. I actually walked into somebody's interview not long back. I went into one room and they'd not started the interview and I was just having a chat and I could see them uneasily looking at me and I said, am I in the wrong room? So we're just about to start the interview. I said, no problem, I'll go. Went next door, they were interviewing. There were signs on the door, but I'm so keen to get in to see what's going on, whether it be something in our skit, something in our Schools Direct, or something in this facilitation. So, but all of that, and the person I often see most who's driving it is Yvonne, and without Yvonne, I don't think it would be where we are today. So I'd just like to thank you personally and publicly for the work that you do, not just setting up today, but actually everything you've done at the school. So that's brilliant. So. The announcement yesterday, I think, puts this particular group in a very good place. Just thought I'd put him up there. have a little look at, puts us in a really good place because we have to deliver on behalf of other people. We have to deliver on behalf of ourselves as well. There's so much going on at the moment that I think we have to accelerate everything that's happening. And the key aims, as you know, of the OLP is collaboration, partnership of schools and academies committed to design and implementation of a local strategy of leadership development, provision of supportive structure and sustainable professional qualifications, leadership underpinned by national qualifications, and so on and so forth. All of that has to be in place to ensure that we're in a good position to meet the challenges. And what I would say is these next series of slides I stole from Vicky Beer. She allowed me to use them. So you may have seen some of them, so I don't intend to dwell on them actually, but this was the landscape 4 weeks ago. The landscape has changed in the last 4 weeks. I think the comfort for us is that our partnership is at the heart of the new landscape. And without the development of leaders, it will be extremely difficult. I'll give you a small example. We're supporting a school, I can't name the school, and we were able to put a head teacher in there doing a brilliant job. We have no intention whatsoever of going in and taking the school over. We don't do that. But we're helping the new sponsor to run the school. The new sponsor has asked, could they take the head? I said, you have to speak to the head. The offer to the head was so good that he couldn't refuse. And the reason it was so good is that sponsor knows that there aren't people out there, or enough people out there, to have that continuity that head could provide. So the market's changing as well. The market is definitely changing. I'm involved in lots of headship interviews, as you are, and it's very difficult, other than people who've been through the types of programs that we're running, to get the right people. I think there's more and more headhunting going on in terms of if you apply to us, you will have an interview, and I think that's a good thing. And sharing of intelligence is a good thing. Growing your own is a good thing. So 500 new free schools was Vicky's unofficial target. That's been blown out of the water. I haven't spoken to her actually. I'm not allowed to speak to her, by the way, because she worked with us. It is a bizarre situation. I'm classed as a related party. I have no relation to Vicky. But if we do any work, we go through West Midlands, through Pank Patel. Pank's a great guy. But it's bizarre, isn't it, the system, in that, not they don't trust us, but we have to keep really clean and squeaky clean about things, and that's good as well. So, just to remind us all, we, through the Trust, have been transparent in how this has been working. We've led the programme. The programmes have been based at the school, facilitated by so many other people in different schools. All of it managed by Best Practice Network, and I have to say, they've been a great partner to work with. I was a bit sceptical at first, because when you work with a third party and you're looking at quality assurance, you're never sure. But actually, we haven't been let down, and I don't think they've been let down either. It works both ways. So I feel really comfortable about the partnership. We try not to do too many third-party pieces of work with big organisations, because sometimes things can get in the way. And obviously, supported significantly by the National College. So, the things that Vicky talked about, the things that we're involved in the school support, collaboration. What is the new landscape? What is it looking like? And it started to evolve, but now it's going to rapidly grow in lots of different ways. And there's no one actually controlling it. That's the problem for me. It's going to exponentially explode in some areas, and we anticipate, and I'm sure if you're a multi-academy trust, even if you're not a multi-academy trust, you're going to start getting phone calls, because the panic is in the system already. And what we're trying to say is there isn't a panic. Try and just do that, because the worst thing to do is be flattered into doing something because people have asked you. We're asked probably once every 2 weeks to go and work with the school. The usual answer is no, with a qualification of why, because somebody else should be working with them. somebody at least as good somewhere else should be working with them. So we've been doing this for quite a few years, probably about 10 years, school-to-school support. We weren't very good at the beginning, but we're getting better now. So self-improving system, and you can see maths are now flavour of the month, and the RSC is pushing maths in lots of different ways. I'll just let you read that. I don't intend to read these slides out. These are not my slides, but we understand this through the partnership that we have. Firm collaborations, firm arrangements are much better than loose arrangements, much better. Because somebody's got to take accountability. We like to be accountable. I'll give you an example. When we go into a school, we're asked to go in, and it's a big commission, and we're there to support leadership. We usually ask all the other people to go, not because we think we're better, well, we might think we're better, but I want to be accountable if it goes wrong or if it goes right. The Dean Trust's name is on it, but if the Dean Trust name's on it, and another trust name's on it, and another trust, there becomes an issue. So we like it to be clean. And I think part of it is making sure that the partnerships are well thought out. Outstanding leadership is everything. And I think the group of people in here, apart from being outstanding leaders, are creating the next level of outstanding leaders. I had a fairly difficult discussion with one of our head teachers about a role in the school. And the assumption was it could only be a senior person that ran it. But if you make that assumption, the school will never move on. And it was a bit of a battle to say, well, have you thought about these people at this next level? Well, I'm not sure about them, but actually we have to be a bit braver and not only give them an opportunity, but also give them some training. And that's why we're well placed in the movement here to be able to help with the system, because there's lots of people who are in the 50s who will retire. And it's a huge number of the leadership positions in this country. And we've got to entrust those people in the 30s and 40s, 20s, and get them on some of our programs so that they're ready. And I've been working with a head who became a head at 32. He's done other things, works in a trust. He's got superb potential. He's not 40 yet, and he'll be doing my job and your jobs in the next few years because somebody invested in him. And I think we need to do that and give them the right skills, as it says on here, making sure people are in the right place. And we're very risk averse actually in our trust, and I think that's right, to be risk averse. And the risks that we have, and the only advice I give to, and I'll be saying this tomorrow to Tameside heads, the advice I give to head teachers who are looking to work with another school is forget the standards, because if you can't go in and put the school standards right, you shouldn't be doing it anyway. You have to look at the finance, the infrastructure, the ICT infrastructure, all things sitting behind it. Because if they're all shot, don't touch it, because you spend all your time doing that. Very obvious, I'll just let you read that. It's the standalone schools are not going to be part of the new future. And to be honest, it's the education landscape and looking at recruitment. Recruitment is my key issue this year. We held a recruitment day. We did something slightly different. Did radio advertising. Got 200 people there. And of that up to now, we've got 15 people from that day. Probably saved us about £20,000. But we eyeball them all as they came in the room. Don't let him out. Don't let her out until we're in the conversation. Because on interview, you can't ask the questions we asked. Because we didn't write anything down. And we talked about the families, and they told us about themselves, because people like talking about themselves, so they told us everything. It's great. It's a different way of doing it. So we're looking at different ways of working. And I'm going to put these all up for you to read. I don't intend to go through them. However, what I would say for us, the last 4 are the ones where we can get involved to support the system. The first ones are more about the Multi-Academy Trust, but for us, the last 4, I won't go through them, but you can read them. And what Vicky was saying, and what's been recognised by the DFE is that there's different sizes of trusts. At the moment, there's a big thing about the big multi-academy trusts, are they performing, pay of chief execs, all that type of thing. But there's hundreds of small multi-academy trusts that are becoming medium. We're 7 schools. We will probably move to 10. Not because we're looking to move to 10. We don't actually have a strategy which is we want more schools. Our strategy is very clear. I won't go through it now. But it is about being demand-driven in the right places. We don't want to get to the big 30 plus because I think it's very difficult. But some do. Some people have that absolute want and desire to get to there. I'll just let you read that one because I want to move on to... So Askell, pretty obvious quote for me. The next slide is more interesting for me. This again, it's about having the right leaders. When you move from a single to a multi-school leadership, it's different. You know that. And preparing for that means that people have to be more flexible. I think the primary one, the third one down, is what we're experiencing now, that relative isolation, the worry that the local authorities are going to disappear. And what are they going to do as a primary head? I think that's a really big issue that we are working with primary heads on at the moment without being condescending or patronising to them. And the Teaching School Alliance, we feel that we have success. We do work with other teaching school alliances. It doesn't happen everywhere. And after recruitment, governance is the most important thing for me, making sure we've got the right people as our backstop. And the final part of that, we're trying to drive change in the system. So, they're Vicky's slides. I've only got a few. I think the emotional intelligence is the most important thing. Understanding where we're going. And I picked up, he's not here so I can't flatter him, but in the Academy magazine, Colin McLean wrote some things. And I wanted to just pick up one of them. And it's about change. Whatever change we have, whether it's welcome or unwelcome, is disruptive. And it can put the brain into a position which is about survival. And you're onto a state of alert. I'm not reading all this out. And it might shut down other areas, which could include your teaching, the quality of teaching. And that could decrease whilst we are in the period of change. Our job is to make sure that the change happens and we give the well-being of the people paramount support. We had a conversation the other day about I've challenged all our heads to say, what are we doing for our staff? And they all said, what do you mean? What are we actually doing? We do Employee of the Week every week. We do get the bottles of wine. We do a few thank yous. But what else are we doing to recognise that they are doing something over and above? So at one of our schools, and he's just gone ahead and done it, he's taking all his staff away, very low cost, to a place in Manchester where they're going to do some activities at the end of a training day, part of team building. They're all really into it, and it's just something he said, it's a giving something back because we're always asking them to do more and more. And the capacity for everybody is difficult. Other heads are grappling with that because I've seen them all. Said, what are we doing? What are we doing in terms of talking to the kitchen staff and all the other people? It's really important. We must recognise as leaders that change. Within that, we have to make sure that we're positioned well in OLP to recognise that. When we did that slide, Fast Emerging Landscape, I didn't realise it was going to be quite as fast as it happened yesterday. We've got a model, the Dean Trust have a model. I'll talk a little bit about that. But the key will be, how do we now scale this up? And how do you, and me, and Neil, and everybody else, ensure that we're at the forefront of that to make sure we've got the right people? Because all of this, actually, is about people. Everything's about people. Are we valuing the people and putting them in the right place so that they feel confident, whatever the system looks like, to make it happen? And at the Dean Trust, everything we do is based on system leadership and homegrown talent. We are always looking for people. And we also develop people to leave. Just talking to a head over there, one of our key people gone across to your school, to teach your school, just getting a little bit of feedback how Gary's doing great. What you've got to remember is they sometimes return to us. We've had a few returners because they've gone somewhere else. They've had a fabulous experience there. They've come back to us. They go somewhere else. I thought that's good as well. We should be creating opportunities for people that we encourage them to go somewhere else to further themselves. And again, through here, those conversations I know are happening. And we need to be developing those future academy leaders, school leaders, because I don't think there's enough of them around. I don't think that the pool of talent is big enough to cope with what's happening. And when you only get 2 or 3 people applying for a position as the boss, that's worrying. And I would say, when we interview externally for senior staff, we appoint on 50% of occasions only, because they've not reached the bar. We need to help people reach the bar in the schools that they go to, and we need to encourage schools and multi-academy trusts to set their bar at the level that you're setting it at when you're doing your facilitation training. And I think that's a real challenge. So we have done some unusual things as well, and I'll refer to this. We have a lovely little primary school that was just about to close in a deprived area. That's not relevant really. Just about to close, and it was at 29% level 4 combined, which is probably the worst in the country. It's now an 88%, good Ofsted. Went from 140 children to 287. We've got issues with they're all complaining now about how full we are. Before it was like, we're going to close. So it's a great complaint to have, and people want to join us. And we've used it regularly to help to train Schools Direct, SKIT trainees, and MPQH. And unusually, and very unusually, we just discussed it before, Yvonne and I, we have a barrister who scared the living pants off the head when she went, because she's far cleverer than the head, and a fabulous person who needs to come in and lead. She's gone into our primary school, and Pete's now just about got over the shock. He's got a barrister working for him, he's got to train her. And Peter and Yvonne have been tailoring an offer for this person who doesn't have QTS at the moment. She will have. I just think that's fantastic that we're able to do that through this particular movement. And really, to finish, because I'm really excited about what's happening, I am worried about the pace, but I'm really excited what's happening in the system for the training of the next generation, is that we're in a position where we're getting young teachers in the SKIT, and I'm privileged to go and see them, have a cup of coffee with them, thinking, you'll be ahead. Because you can see it, can't you? You can see they're going to be there. We need to almost wrap that up and keep them in that bubble so they get to there. Some industries do that really well. They have the fast-track graduate programs, and they get to the top because they are superb. We don't do that enough. And I think we probably need to do more of that if we want to solve a potential crisis. How do we do it? Well, we do it via our initial teacher training, the middle leaders program, the MPQH programs, the programs you're facilitating on. And some examples of how that's working already. We're running the primary PE programs, and some of the people who've got jobs have already become coordinators in their primary schools in their first or second year. So that's just a little example, but it will start to happen more and more if we prepare them correctly. So I'm delighted to be able to just share a few of my experiences from the start of this particular movement, because I was there on day one pitching for this, watched it with interest. I've had very little to do with it. Operation, well, I've had nothing to do with operation. I won't take any credit whatsoever. That's been done through Yvonne and Neil and other people. So thank you for listening. I'll pass back to Neil now, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.